7 mag here. Now, I'm going to talk about bending your needle bar. And I've heard several different ways to do this. One way is just to bend from right here down, just a little bit. So it gives your needles a little bit of an angle there. Now the purpose for this is so that the needles will ride on the bottom of the tip here, so that you'll have more control over them and they're not coming out up here or something. One irritating thing when you're tattooing, you'll know if your needles are off. If you're trying to line up your tattoo and you're lining it up with your tube and you're filling in color, but you see you're missing color because instead of your needle being at the bottom, it's actually sticking up a little bit. So you're tattooing here, but it's actually, this is over exaggerated, but your needles are over here tattooing, so it's hard to line up where you're at if you're not on the bottom of the tube with your needle group. So I'm going to do a little experiment here. I got a ghost tube so I could see how my needle's acting, and I took the grip off so I could see everything. I'm going to load it up in my machine and test out the different ways to bend your needle bar and try to figure out which one I like the best. So I'm going to bend this first, and I'm going to use the same needle, and the reason why I bent that first is so I can bend it back and then try bending it. Some people give it a little bend right here, other people give it one little bend here and then one little bend here. So we're going to try the different ways here. First I'm just going to try bending right here and see how this reacts. To make sure everything's as close as possible for this, I have 2 rubber bands, and I'm going to put them on here. They're both the same size. Alright, let's see what we got. You can see that the needle it's bent down here, then it goes up at an angle and then down into the tube. So when I run it, let's see how the tip and the needles are acting. Staying in the bottom of the tube and bottom of the tip like we want it to. So I would give that one a thumbs up. Seems to be working just fine. Alright, so I'm going to bend my needle group straight, and let me bend this just ever so slightly right in the middle. Okay. Give a little bit more. Alright, so there we go. We have a little bend in the middle. Okay, same rubber bands. So far, it looks pretty straight down the middle of the tube. Before, the front of the needle was sticking up more when I just bent the needle grouping down. This way, there's just a gradual arc in the middle, comes right back down. See how it does when it runs. Okay, again, no problems there. The needles are down on the bottom of the tip and nothing's rubbing. Seems like we're doing okay. Let's do number 3. If I really wanted to truly test this, I would use 3 brand new needles, but money doesn't grow on trees around here, so I'll just try to straighten this up again. It's pretty straight. Now the third way is just to give a little bend back here. And then give a little bend up here towards the front of your needle bar. So you would have 2 bends. Bend, and then straight, and then another bend. Okay. Just a note here, when you're setting up your needles, make sure that the needle lines up with the bottom of the tube and sits flat on the bottom of the tip here. Let's do it like this. So here's the bottom of your tube and here's your needles. You want to make sure that they're sitting flat, they're not up like this, that they're actually sitting on the bottom of the tip of the tube. If they're poking up like this, then you're going to get what I was talking about before. Your needles are going over here. They need to sit flat, so when you're following a line or coloring in by a line, that it's going exactly where you want to, not somewhere else. So make sure they're not bent up like this. If you have too much tension sometimes on the needle bar, it'll pull down and that'll push your needles up. And I'll give you that. You want just enough tension for your needles to sit on the bottom of that tip and go back and forth. And you want to make sure they're not sitting crooked like this. You know, look in there and make sure they're sitting straight, not at an angle like this. And make sure you don't have like 3 straight needles and then one bent in like this because it's hitting the corner. You know, make sure they're all sitting nice and flat and not scrunched up or something. Alright, I delayed that long enough. Let's see how this one acts. Bent in 2 spots. Okay, again, I see no problem with that. So, all 3 ways seem to be good ways to bend your needle. It would be personal preference as to what you would do when bending your needle bar.